One of the interesting things about Telegram is that, the US is not their least used country, but I mean, compared to other social media, Telegram's presence here is essentially just crypto people, and that's it. But it's massive in other parts of the world. So it's one of those things that I just want to keep an eye on, because with that distribution and that amount of users, it's not something that I think you can it could very easily, just spark a fire overnight and explode, compared to, gradual growth that, steady growth month over month that you can see.
Before we get into today's episode, just a quick disclaimer. The views expressed on this podcast by either myself or any guest are their personal views and do not represent the views of any associated organization. Nothing in this episode should be construed or relied upon as financial, technical, tax, legal, or other advice. All right, let's jump into the episode.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of ZeroX Research. I'm joined by Talks from Page One and Kes from Parsec. Before we get started, even though you just heard Ren give our disclosures, I just wanted to highlight that especially in these types of episodes where I'm hosting external analysts, market participants, anons, etc., we're talking about coins and protocols that may be more out on the risk curve than we usually do. Make sure to keep that in mind. Nothing is ever financial, legal, business, or tax advice on this show. But specifically for these episodes, we're discussing products more out on the risk curve, and that is something to be especially cognizant of. Before we get started, Talks, we've already heard all about you. Kez, do you want to give a very short introduction as well as some background on how you got started in the space?
Yeah, GM, thanks for having us. My name's Kez. I work for Parsec Finance. How I got started, I originally bought the top in 2017. I feel like this is a classic story. Forgot about it, and then just got back into it in 2021.
That's pretty good. That's like top in 2017 is quite impressive, to be fair, because you've been in for a while. I feel like usually when I talk to other people, they're like, "Oh, I bought the top in like 2021," and then
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people do that, buy the top their first cycle and then just kind of either completely forget about it or just take a pretty chill until the next cycle.
Yeah. What are we looking at these days? What are you guys interested in? What is like the sector that you're focused on?
I think for me, and I think the market at large is, we're kind of just coiling under all-time highs right now, with the inflows this week have just been absolutely ludicrous. We're sitting at just shy of $1.5 billion of inflows this week so far, with GBTC getting some positive inflows as well, and no outflows from them this week too. So I think that's top of mind for everybody right now. Obviously, with the BTC inflows, ETH BTC, that's top of mind for everybody as well. Obviously, with the ETH ETF being the next likely rotation, we're seeing, at least this week, it's kind of after that candle last week, we've kind of stalled out a little bit, and I think that the market, I mean, I'm sure you guys see on the TL, it's pretty funny. You can kind of gauge what ETH BTC is at by the state of the TL and how much they're arguing.
Yeah.
So that's obviously the number one top of mind there. I mean, the inflows this week are just, I mean, they're pretty ludicrous. So I think a lot of that comes on the back of all the major political shift we saw over the past week, 2 weeks. So we'll keep monitoring the flows, but I think one of the main questions is kind of like, why aren't we higher? And I haven't really seen a good necessarily explanation for that. There's some
No, me neither.
Yeah, there's some people speculating about the basis trade, and maybe you long is it long the
buy spot, short the perp.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen a few people mention that, and it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of conclusive evidence. We have seen pretty large selling above 70K every time now. So I think the fact that we're sitting above 70K, kind of right at 71, just hanging out there, is a good relative strength from the market compared to, back down below it, because the selling above 70K for whatever reason, whatever entity, has been pretty ridiculous every time now. I think we've been on it, 4 times?
Yeah. I mean,
this is the 4th clap.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't even know who's selling at this point, like above 70K. It's like, but they're like relentlessly doing it. I actually check the info. Like, I usually don't check inflows at all. I'm generally not interested in them. But like, apart from knowing like, oh, it's positive, it's good, it's negative, it's bad. But like I checked, and on the 4th we had like 900 mil of net inflows, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
886 million, I think. And I mean, I'm generally with you that, and especially the longer that the flows go on, like the market was pretty reactive when the ETFs first launched. But I mean, the longer they're live, like the less the inflows and outflows kind of matter in my mind. As long as it's not.
You can certainly see that, like in how the market reacts. Like when it was first started trading, the market would fully react to like strong positive inflows or negative ones. And these days it just doesn't even have any effect. But yeah, the last few days have been ludicrous. And I don't know, like we've talked about a bit, Tokes, I refuse to be bearish regardless of what's happening here. We're just chilling under 70K for like the 4th time. But yes, I would also like to know why 1.5 bill inflows in a few days is not pushing us higher than it is.
What do you guys think of the ETH ETF with this? Like when it comes, because to me it's very obviously a bull, like something that's bullish. But like every single thing that happens in crypto, like CT has somehow managed to say, oh, actually this might be bad. Which to me seems ridiculous, but they're like, oh, like flows will be disappointing. Okay, who cares? It still flows. Like,
yeah, I feel like I'm starting to realize, especially now with like the fact that we have actual sizable institutional flows coming into crypto now, that it's just like an echo chamber of the same, I don't know how many people kind of just forming their own opinions, but it by and large doesn't really have a huge effect on what is actually happening, especially with majors, more so with the lower ones.
Yeah, I think that was, I don't remember if I tweeted something about that a couple weeks ago or not, but I think the kind of like echo chamber and influence of crypto Twitter, at least on majors, like you said, Kez, like I don't think it's ever been as irrelevant of the flows in the TradFi money coming in. Like it's just, I mean, 1.5 billion this week alone so far, 3 days is, I mean, those are they're ludicrous numbers. So
just wild. They won't trap me.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, previous cycles, like, sentiment and stuff, like those gauges were, I don't know, they were pretty valuable, and obviously they're still valuable now. But I think like the general CT consensus for majors, and I mean, majors drive everything. Like I said, it's kind of been, it's as least impactful as it's ever been. And that's something that I think the market and the participants are, especially on CT, are kind of slowly waking up to a little bit. And I don't think they're necessarily where they should be, and accepting that fact. But that's the nature of the game when you have, hundreds of millions shoved in every day.
Yeah. I almost don't even want to talk about it because it is just like the hot topic on Twitter at the moment. But like, it's pretty wild how miserable everyone is and how like just the infighting and shit you see every day on Twitter when we are where we are. If you just take a step back and kind of look at the charts.
I mean, BTC is sitting at 71K, but yeah, it's fascinating. But yeah, as far as the ETH ETF goes, I mean, I'm expecting still, I think probably late June, first week of July launch, until we get some news that would change that. That's kind of my base case for now. And I mean, like we just talked about, like, people can make up whatever, stories they want about it, but it's ridiculously bullish over, I mean, short, mid, and long term in my eyes. So, I mean, we'll have some ETH to chew through, just like we did with GBTC. But I mean, open up the floodgates to the flows that we've seen in BTC are just, I mean, there's going to be a more of a repricing soon, I think. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people are confused by as well, is why ETH BTC has been weak this week. But yeah, I mean, I would think that changes at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I hope so. I think if it gets any worse, like sentiment's going to go horrible. The thing is that like I was on CT when BTC was 20K and below, and it wasn't this bad. Like obviously, like people were very like sad and depressed, but it wasn't, at least like people were. Vitalik wasn't arguing on the timeline, is it? Like he was. I don't know, but
fascinating.
yeah, I generally agree. Like, apart from BTC inflows, ETH inflows, like we also have, like, Canada just announced that they're going to cut rates. We have Kramer asking Gensler about the bonk on live TV. It's like, I don't know. It feels unreal to be crying on the timeline.
Yeah, it's a wild time, that's for sure. But I mean, it's I don't know how to interpret anything other than up from here. So, and with ETH specifically, I mean the flows. What's interesting about the projections, I think generally the market is expecting like 20% of BTC flows, like total, but that 20% was a lot lower before this week. And obviously, you can't compare a 3-day sample, but if you're getting 20% of, say, a billion in a week, even 700 million, like that's a lot different than 4 to 500 million, especially with ETH's market cap obviously being much less. So I mean the impact is going to be, if the demand is 20% of what we've seen, and I mean I would maybe take the over on that. There's just going to be, I mean, there's a natural repricing coming. So
yeah, totally. And also, 30% of ETH locked up in staking as well. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty hyper bullish. Just waiting. The charts and crypto Twitter just feel a little bit in limbo at the moment. Everyone's just kind of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, we should get some S1. I think the S1 submissions and feedback from the SEC should maybe be today or tomorrow or early next week, and I think that'll finally crystallize the next ETH move. So
yeah, one thing I feel like is kind of affecting it is because when the BTC stuff was originally announced, like the ETF, I think trading happened relatively quicker, or at least maybe it just got like clarified a lot quicker that there would be this. But I feel like with ETH, we just didn't receive that much news.
Yeah, no, I think
it was talked about for a long time with Bitcoin, and like ETH was like, the odds were 20% up until like a few days before it happened. Yeah. So you had this rapid repricing, and kind of all the news came out at once. But yeah, you're right, and then we haven't had the S1s and whatnot since.
Yeah, that timing makes it a little difficult. I mean, the BTC ETFs, I think we're live 2 weeks, maybe even less than that. Actually, I think it was the next Monday. I think it was approved that was Thursday, right? And I think it was the next Monday. So, I mean, that could be it. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's necessarily not reason to force the trade, and once you have official clarity. But yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen a little more front running. But I think it will come any day now. So,
yeah. And to me, ETH is like it's a better like. If I was TradFi, I would be more interested in ETH than BTC. Like, obviously, BTC has store of value, digital money. It's the original cryptocurrency, but like ETH has the whole staking thing. It's like, I just think that TradFi is a lot more interested in something that's both yield bearing and like it can, you can frame it as like the internet of money or whatever, like of that sort. So
yeah, I've seen some takes on the timeline in which people are kind of supposing that potentially this was kind of end game for Larry the whole time, because there's the whole tokenization, like tokenizing the world thesis, and that maybe getting the BTC ETF through was just to kind of get to ETH in the end, but we'll see.
Yeah. Apart from ETF news, I feel like 2 big things that happened, I think yesterday. Let's start like as soon as possible. Like what happened very, very recently. We had Sanctum announce their token, Cloud, and we had Prime launch staking. Like, I don't know if either of you guys want to cover any of those, but I can start off with giving like a short intro on Sanctum. Basically, Sanctum does LSTs. In case our listeners aren't familiar, they do LST products on Solana. They have 2 separate products. They do either bespoke LSTs for validators. So like Helios runs a validator and they can launch their own LST through Sanctum, or they do kind of like a one-to-one liquidity pool and swapping for LSTs. So they have their own LST called Infinity, which is backed by a bunch of other LSTs, and it makes it easy to trade. They use like a new pricing system based on stake accounts and like directly the chain instead of like XYK. They announced their token Cloud, as I mentioned. I think the most interesting thing here is that they're going to launch at 50 mil FTV on.
Yeah.
That.
That's a pretty key point, isn't it? That just seems stupidly cheap for what it is, with kind of no competitors as well, or very little at least on Solana. But yeah, they're launching at the FTV of what they raised their first round at back in 2021, which is even that is just like a very kind of a sign of good faith, isn't it? But yeah, they did a very long tweet and blog post. It seems very well thought out. They seem well intentioned, and they kind of just overall seem like they know what they're doing with this token launch. It definitely feels like slated to be one of the better airdrop token launches that we've seen as of late.
Yeah, I mean, Solana tokens have also just been like in this weird spot where it's like, okay, let's say for example, Camino. Camino is very key architecture on like key infrastructure on Solana. It's the #1 lending yield app, whatever, but it's at 500 mil. That's quite a bit, but it's also not a lot based on what it is.
Even that feels cheap to me for like what it does, and like it doesn't have like 250 mil TVL or something.
No, it has like 1.5 bill.
Oh shit! Well, yeah, right.
No, but that's what I mean. But also the other issue here is that people don't care about Solana DeFi at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like just uninterested. But I mean, 50 mil FDV. It might be like we have a couple of guys on the team and they were just talking about it. And they were like, everything on Solana launches either at 10 bill, like Wormhole and stuff, or it launches at like 500 mil, where the upside is either there's no upside. You're just going to see like steady selling. And you see those messages on Telegram that's like, oh, new seller for Wormhole, OTC, 60% discount. Or it's like 500 mil, what are you going to get on that? Like for Camino, people aren't interested in DeFi. But 50 mil, and I like you said, because I like that paragraph that he wrote. I mean, he definitely knows how to do a narrative. He was like, oh, we did it on purpose so that like we're not like the other guys funded by VCs and we're against sex listings and stuff. Like he's really playing to the populist crowd. I think it's good. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I'm excited for sure. Me and Tokes, I don't know about you, but we've been farming it for a while now. And also just using it, like even before they announced Wonderland, I think we had deposited into like Inf and Dupe Soul and stuff. But yeah.
I mean, everything about their launches is just awesome too. I mean, you know, you can say some of, you know, the no sex fees and, you know, no VCs, like some of that can be lip service or whatever, but I mean, they backed it up with obviously the 50 mil, it'll be, you know, a fair launch on a DEX. Like that valuation is incredibly friendly to retail and average market participants. And then, I mean, 18% float at launch with 10% of that being airdropped is just awesome. So I really hope that other teams, I mean, I hope Sanctum's launch goes great, because I hope that other teams take a page out of their notebook. I mean, they specifically singled out that, you know, they could do a season 2 and keep TVL and then use those metrics to raise it a higher valuation, and, you know, kind of like the points game that we've all come to know, and that's become tiresome. And it was incredibly refreshing to see a protocol acknowledge, you know, that's what's happening.
Amen.
And we're not doing that.
Are they the first in like a hot minute to kind of cut that shit short instead of like, you know, just running it forever?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really have an end date in mind necessarily, but you know, when that came out yesterday, I was very pleasantly surprised. So
I did not expect it that fast. It was 6 weeks. Yeah. They ran Wonderland for 6 weeks. Like, you know, teams do 4 months, they do 6 months, they do a year. Like, I think Blur in total was like a year in the end before. I can't remember if it was season 2 or maybe season 2 ended or something. But yeah, definitely incredibly refreshing. Agree.
Yeah, Margin Fi has been going on for like a year, and they keep saying we're not gonna have a token, and I'm gonna start believing them if they keep saying it, and they because I'm just gonna give up. Yeah, I think like like you said, folks, I hope that other teams take note and realize that. I mean, I hope it goes right so that other teams can take note and realize that they should be doing a bit better of a job. I'm doubtful though. The incentives just don't align at all. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean the incentives are the problem there, but I mean I don't know. I mean it's a two-sided thing too. You have to obviously I don't remember exactly who their first backers were, what the terms were, and whatnot. But I mean, there's a little bit of onus on the VCs and stuff too. I mean, obviously they want stuff to get liquid sooner, but I mean, TVL and these metrics in general, like you can prop them up for however long you want, but if you really truly want to build something, make a difference, stick around, like you're not going to find that out without going to market, without the incentives for the market to be there. So the quicker that you can learn that is also incredibly beneficial to all parties involved, because if there's pivots necessary, if there's tweaks that need to be made, things along those lines, like you find that out quicker too. So it's definitely kind of beneficial all around. Like you said, Bach, I mean the incentives are a little tough for if you want to keep the TVL in there and then raise it at higher valuations. But hopefully we see a shift going towards more what Sanctum did.
Yeah, I think like he even wrote in that tweet thread, like we fully expect TVL to probably have a significant drop after this. But I think that's so brave, and like you said, I think you need to let something fly if you're gonna kind of play the long game on it. Like eventually the incentives run out for both VCs and like your users, and it's got to either fly or fall once that happens. So why not do it earlier if you have a successful product?
Yeah, Sanctum's also kind of lucky though, because they're the only ones that do that product. I do see like if you're a lending product, why you need TVL for much longer, and you can't really take that risk, because like just let's say Camino and MarginFi, like at the end of the day, okay, Camino has their own yield product, MarginFi has their own LST, whatever, but they're the same, like they're the same segment, they're lending. So if MarginFi needs to keep up TVL for longer, they like have to technically they shouldn't. I don't want them to, but they have to overdo the points program so that they can keep up the TVL, because there's a very successful alternative. I mean, with Sanctum, there isn't. Like, where else are you gonna go if you want to get like the best price at what it is for like to swap your LSTs? Then you have to use Sanctum. There's no other competitor.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess I would say, like I said, I mean, there's benefits to launch into, and the fact that you get feedback and you see what is real and what's not. I mean, I think you run points programs for so long, and you have inflated TVL. Like if you're going on 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, like you might start convincing yourself that the protocol and what you build is better than what it is, and those numbers are real. So I mean, it can get a little tricky, but yeah, I mean, the incentives are they're definitely tough. So I mean, I get it from both sides, but I think at the end of the day, what Sanctum did was incredibly refreshing, and hopefully we see a little bit more of that going forward.
The second thing was Prime. Prime's the token for Echelon Prime, which has a trading card game. Everybody's familiar with that. They're also launching a new game called Parallel Colony with AI agents and like a simulation. Think like Sims, space colonization, and AI agents instead of you controlling it, your Sims. It's an AI agent. You talk to it. You say do this, do that. For the AI agent, they need to have an AI agent framework called Wayfinder, which will have its own token called Prompt. The only and what happened yesterday is they launched Prime staking for Prompt. So you stake Prime, Prime stakers earn 45% of the native token for Wayfinder Prompt. The only reason I wanted to actually bring this up is like everybody knew about this months going in that they were going to have this. It's been on the forums for a while, but I think this is the first popular experience of like launching the staking product and giving people the option to lock for 3 years. And I never locked for 3 years, but I've seen people lock for 3 years. So I want to understand how you guys think of locking up stuff? Are you lockers, or like are you like minimum locking? I don't care. I want to be as liquid as possible.
I think like what Kez said at the intro, everybody kind of buys a top. I think almost everybody also kind of locks a token and then regrets it.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. You gotta learn. You have to experience the pain of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a rite of passage. But yeah, personally, no. I mean, that's not for me at all. I think generally people discount liquidity more than they ever should, and that should always kind of be paramount. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Yeah, I can't even think of a time that I have locked. I'm definitely not a locker. But I remember Boss saying what was it last cycle? Some gaming thing. Anyway, that if you do lock for an extended amount of time, like you'll slowly learn that you've pretty much just re-rated whatever the current value of that is to zero, because you have so much time left. I think he round tripped a pretty big bag on what was it? He was talking about the other day.
DeFi Kingdoms had a lock, didn't they? There was a bunch of people locked in that, I think. But
it was some gaming thing. If I remember.
Look, it's Crypto Valley's had it recently. Is that it?
No, this was last cycle. It's like a bit more of a mainstream one. Anyway, I don't know.
Generally,
you remember when they were clowning that kid, like that 17-year-old kid who sold 900,000 DFK?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's
it turned out to be quite near the top.
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind went.
That was so funny. My second question related to this, the reason that I brought this up is that I've been doing a lot of research on AI agents. I don't know if they're real yet. We'll find out soon enough. But I feel like there are no good AI agent tokens out there. Like there are limited good AI tokens out there, but no good AI agent token. I don't know if you guys are familiar with OLAS. Morpheus obviously didn't do very well. It hasn't done very well so far. But that was the main reason that I was like interested in Prime for a while. It's just that they have like at least some, and I know the team is like relatively competent. They built a good game, which is very difficult to do in crypto. Their like teasers look good, so I'm like, that's my hope with that. This is the AI agent token.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely fair, and I think that's a lot of the value of Prime going forward is that prompt token and what that could possibly be. Everything kind of in the AI sector, and I mean agents too. I mean that stuff is people can write it off as vaporware or down the line or whatever, but if you miss something like that, I mean you're going to be kicking yourself because the valuations can get incredibly silly very quick. So in Prime, I mean, like you said, they've built something successful already. I mean, the team's great. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind making that bet at all. Because again, I mean, the reward there is just it's massive. Obviously, it's kind of up until this point, it's more of like a pie in the sky thing, like the AI and crypto and agents and stuff. But I mean, I do think that stuff is going to be it's going to be real. It's just the timeline's a little uncertain. I don't think necessarily anybody knows, but making bets on that are just kind of one of those things where you kind of just have to do it because again, like the rewards are so great.
Yeah, it's at 2 billion right now, FTV, right? If it turns out that it is like it does kind of get up there as one of the top AI agent mindshare tokens, as well as being like Prime, the game. Yeah, you could definitely see that DV go into something silly down the track. AI and memes have kind of been the strong sectors this whole cycle so far. And to be honest, I'm not really expecting that to stop.
Yeah. All right, before we move on, let's have a quick word in from TraderJoe. Thanks to our fantastic sponsor, LayerZero. All right, guys. For this week's LayerZero segment, we have Blue, Head of Marketing and Growth of TraderJoe, joining us. Thank you so much for coming on, Blue.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Just to kick us off, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you guys are building over at TraderJoe?
Yeah, sure. So for those who don't know, TraderJoe is the decentralized exchange, or I like to refer to us as an on-chain token hub. And our key offering is, just giving people the ability to instantly swap tokens at very low cost. I guess a bit of history about TraderJoe. So we launched in the middle of 2021 on the Avalanche blockchain, and we've since expanded to other EVM chains such as Arbitrum, and more recently Mantle via a cousin DEX called Merchant Mo. And to date, we've facilitated over 110 billion in lifetime trading volume. And if we're just a team of just really passionate kind of builders. Our mission from day one has just been to make DeFi easy and accessible for everyone. We want to drive adoption of DeFi technology, and we like to take a first principle approach to design to help drive that mission forward. We're all about making DeFi more accessible, improving the user experience, and generally just making it easier for people to come on chain and swap tokens.
I mean, you guys are doing a great job. Just like anecdotally, TraderJoe was one of the first DEXs that I ever used, and I still use it if I have to, like on a chain that I'm on, just because I like it. How does LayerZero fit into TraderJoe?
Yeah, so we integrated LayerZero, or LayerZero's omni-chain fungible token standard. That was back in February 2023, so just over a year ago now. And we did that just because we wanted to support our multi-chain expansion ambitions. So we deployed our DEX onto Arbitrum the end of 2022. And then the next natural step for that was, okay, how can we bring the Joe token into Arbitrum? And how can we expand further as well? If we want to roll out into other EVM chains, we also want to make sure that the Joe token goes with the platform as well. So, we obviously chose LayerZero's OFT standard to kind of evolve that Joe token into more of an omni-chain offering. And that was a really easy decision for us as well. It stood out back then amongst other options that we had in terms of, in all areas we were looking at, how can we make a token be transferred across different chains with max efficiency, with security, with being able to offer the perfect user experience that we want to offer our users. LayerZero's OFT stood out, and it's ever since we integrated it, the feedback has just been amazing. Like, our users happily bridge across the different ecosystems with Joe. We've had over 350,000 messages of people just transferring Joe back and forth between Arbitrum and Mantle. So I think that volume that we've seen is just a testament to the experience that users have by being able to transfer their Joe back and forth.
Perfect. I'd also like to hear a bit more about what's like on your roadmap over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, so we've got a ton of exciting products and experiences coming to TraderJoe in the ecosystem over the next 6 months. And I'm sure everyone always kind of says the same anyway. Oh, we're building really great stuff. But like, I really do mean this. Right? I think TraderJoe has probably had a relatively quiet start to the year. But a lot of what we're doing is now coming into fruition. So I think the first thing I can tease is we'll be using LayerZero technology more. And I'll probably leave it as that for now. But you're going to hear about more expansion coming very soon. And then I hate saying it's coming very soon, but yeah, we'll be expanding more using LayerZero technology very soon. Really exciting. And then we've got our Joe V3 product that's coming in early summer. It's a new to DeFi protocol called TokenMill. We announced that name a couple of months back, but we've had to go back through the design process, iterating on the original spec a few times as we were running into computation constraints in the EVM. But we're kind of at that position where we're good to go. We're building that now, and early summer TokenMill will be coming to the TraderJoe ecosystem. And then back end of the year, in tangent to Joe V3, we're also working on Joe V4. I don't think anyone's really aware of what Joe V4 entails, but they'll find out relatively soon as well. And the vision of Joe V4 is that, we see a merger of product types in the DEX space over the next few years. And JV4 is a product that takes that first step to realizing how we envision a DEX evolving in the coming years. So that's a really exciting project that's coming pretty at the back end of this year.
Oh, sounds very exciting. Thank you for hopping on, Blue.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
What do we think of Mother?
Yeah, I wrote about it in the Parsec Weekly last week, actually, because there just wasn't much else going on at the time. But, we had Caitlyn Jenner first. Everyone was frantically trying to figure out if it was real. Turns out it was real, but it just was very grifty. The kind of language she was using, you could just see that the intentions were kind of grifty. And then a few days later, she launched a token on ETH as well. And then we had all the other kind of D-list rappers and stuff that launched one. But credit to Iggy, there's just something different about the way she's approached it. She just feels like she gets crypto Twitter a lot more. She's a pretty good shit poster. She's kind of been working for her bags this whole time. And the token has been responding. It's doing incredibly well, actually. I think it's at like 170 mil or something now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's somewhere ridiculous. Here, let's look at this. I don't know if you guys can see it yet. I mean, this just sent me this morning, to be fair. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
It's for our listeners who are just like not on video, it's Iggy's tweet about Vitalik. It's just so funny. But yeah, I thought like it was at least relatively non-grifty. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, to me, like anytime a celebrity launches a token, it's grifty. But if it's like less grifty than the other ones, I guess it's like a net positive. I think the big thing about this was that Ansem was very involved in this whole thing.
Yeah,
and I really
that has definitely contributed to success for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Like, it's definitely less grifty. Doesn't mean it's still not grifty. And like the biggest counter argument that the way I've been kind of thinking about it is like, someone comes in and launches a token on the first day, like, what are the intentions there?
Yeah.
They could come in and do anything else. Buy Bitcoin, buy ETH, buy Sol, buy current memes, like just get involved in like, communities if they want to, I don't know, use their platform to help spread crypto or whatever the reason is. But I don't know. She's been doing pretty well so far. We'll see if it goes to zero in the end.
Yeah. I mean, once it's up above 150, I mean, I don't think it's ever necessarily going to go to zero just because.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, mixed feelings on it. Obviously, don't want everybody coming in and just launching tokens. There's better ways to join the community, but I also think I don't know, like you said, I mean, the way she's gone about it, if there's kind of a right way, I would say that everything has been ticked, every box has been ticked in the right way, and nobody's forcing you to buy or anybody to buy. So they're permissionless platforms. As attention peaks up, like it's just it's things that happen. So you can sit and watch for a little bit, and I think it was pretty clear that she was going to stay around at least for a little bit. And I mean, it's not the highest bar in the world, but I mean, attention is one of in the internet area is one of the most valuable resources in the world. So I mean,
she's winning that attention game right now. Like the discussions that were all over crypto Twitter last week and even this week, and now like Vitalik getting involved in everything, and the hate for it as well. Often a pretty good recipe for number go up.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people say hated coin about like a lot of coins that are not hated, but this is definitely like a hated coin. And I think for like I'm not a big hater. I loved the new classic. The album was great, but I guess the coin is okay. Like, yeah, she stayed around for a bit. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's not revolutionary, but it'll be nice.
It is what it is, it's another tokenized attention coin, and she's good at capturing attention. So that's and I mean, I think
she's rocking a Mad Lad now too. Part of your community. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that just goes to show how grifters always wear Mad Lad.
Yeah, a little bit of Hyperliquid. I've been kind of pretty into it for the last couple of months, I suppose, since they launched spot trading and Per, since they debuted spot trading with Per. I didn't really know much about it before, and I feel like probably a lot of people still think about it just as like a perps platform, but it's shaping up as a lot more. So it's a perps platform, but now they have spot trading as well. That's just gone permissionless too. So there's an actual ecosystem that can kind of start getting built and start getting built there. It's going to be a fully fledged L1, basically a fully fledged, very high throughput EVM L1. It's actually on testnet right now. I haven't tested it, but yeah.
Yeah, I had Jeffrey on the podcast. I recorded with him a few weeks ago. Yeah, I did. It's supposed to come out next Thursday though. But I mean, the dude was like, first of all, it was a pleasure to speak with him. Because sometimes you'll talk to these founders and it's not great. No one that I've ever talked to. I love all of my founders that I've talked to, but I mean, he was also like surprisingly very, very like a decentralized maxi. He was like, I want everything on chain. And the reason I'm mentioning that is that, for example, DYDX has their order book off chain. Hyperliquid has everything on chain, which is not as efficient and definitely more difficult to do than the alternative. So
yeah,
and I mean they've done.
Have you looked at the Block Explorer? Like seeing those transactions stream in is like it just looks insanely fast.
It's ridiculous. Like either they're cooking the books or they've really built something over here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, I also got interested after the spot markets. I generally not a perps trader. I like that these this is the second protocol / whatever larger product that launched its own meme coin. So there was one with Jupiter, Puff, and Mantle, and then there's Per, and then you earn points by longing spot coins. I mean, it feels like a recipe for success.
It's pretty incentive aligned between both of them. Well, because it's usually it's a triangle. You have VCs, founders, team, and users, but they haven't raised. It's been completely self-funded so far. So the expectation is that a much larger percentage of the token, when it does come, will go to users. So yeah, basically just have users and the team, and feels quite incentive aligned for both parties.
Yeah. Talk. See any takes?
Not really. No. I mean, I've kind of been watching. I have a little bit of Per, but other than that, I mean, I don't trade on there too often. I really should. But yeah, I mean, it's just another founder and team like we were talking about with Sanctum. Obviously, this is entirely different because there's no VC funding whatsoever. But it's refreshing to see kind of his commitment to the right things in the space. So those are the type of platforms that like to give volume and attention to. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, me as well. I don't know. We'll see. They have a pretty good wallet system. I don't know if you also noticed it, but just bridging, not wallet system, just bridging over there, it doesn't feel like you're bridging at all. It just feels so smooth. Usually that's why I don't like using separate L1s for trading stuff, but this just felt great.
That is one thing I'm confused on though, actually. You might know why. Why can you only bridge from Arbitrum? Why it's kind of made it feel like it's Arbitrum, and that's even some people that I've talked to about Hyperliquid have just assumed that it's an Arbitrum perp dex because of that as well.
Yeah. They built their this is I need to re-listen to the podcast because I asked them this. As far as I remember, they built their own bridging infrastructure, and they built it based on they built through Arbitrum. So I think that's why. And that's another thing. They built a lot of their own stuff. They don't use a lot of external stuff at all, which is kind of crazy. No VC funding, and like you're building everything in house, like as good as possible. It's a bit
He was
intense.
like a high frequency trader before or something, right? Or a market maker or something along those lines.
Yeah. He was I think he was in market making before, high frequency trading.
Team kind of small as well.
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Okay, maybe that's just an assumption I've made.
I don't. They're not very public though. That's one.
No,
thing.
they're not, and they don't tweet very much, and they don't kind of like they're not loud on the timeline.
No.
Maybe that'll come later, but right now it's definitely just like heads down building, and man, they've shipped and delivered well so far.
Yeah. Talks. I'm gonna pass it to you for a ton because I don't know anything about it.
About Ton? Oh man, where do I start? I guess I don't know. I started kind of getting interested, I think maybe 2 months ago or so. I mean, Ton is the best performing L1 token year to date. So, and it's obviously in the top 10 now. But yeah, I started digging into the ecosystem a little bit, maybe a month or two ago, started buying a couple things over there, just experimenting. And it's pretty good user experience. Obviously the thesis there is just the distribution that Telegram has. It's pretty unparalleled and not only
How many users do they have now? Something insane.
Yeah, like 900 million plus.
Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah, obviously, that doesn't translate to a one-to-one user of anything or 1/100th or anything like that. But there's that distribution and that funnel just can't be ignored. I would say, generally speaking, I'm pretty against kind of like Web2 companies like integrating crypto features, but it goes out of the window with Ton and Telegram for me, just because of social media's like network effects. So yeah, I like I said, started exploring that, and I mean they had some they have native Tether now. They have some incentive funds for creators. They have easy onboarding, create a wallet right inside chats. So I think it's kind of.
I was gonna ask that, like the wallet onboarding process. They have these 900 million customers, users. Like, is it just like an opt-in? Like I can, because I haven't even tried, but go to your settings and like create a wallet that's tied to your phone number or something.
Yeah, I believe so. I actually haven't done it myself, but I think they have kind of like a 5K limit or something before, and then I think it's KYC. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if that. I mean, I would assume that'll eventually change. But yeah, so I've just kind of been exploring that ecosystem and just kind of watching what's going on there, especially because CT is very, I'd say probably, I mean it's US based, not US based, but predominantly US hours. Yeah. One of the interesting things about Telegram is that the US is their not their least used country, but I mean, compared to other social media, like, I mean, Telegram's presence here is essentially just crypto people, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's massive in other parts of the world. So it's one of those things that I just want to keep an eye on, because with that distribution and that amount of users, it's not something that I think you can kind of, it could very easily, just spark a fire overnight and explode, compared to gradual growth, that steady growth month over month that you can see. There's the recipe there for all of a sudden people being like, oh shit, like Ton and the ecosystem is here. So they launched they did have Notcoin launch. That was that
I didn't even realize that was them.
But yeah, so they had it's kind of like a in chat or in channel, like simple gaming interface. But I mean, I think they have 7 million people in that Telegram. The Twitter has, I want to say, like 9 million followers.
Wow.
So yeah, that launched. It's up to 2.3 billion FTV last time I checked. But the interesting thing is, I mean, the volume for Notcoin was above everything other than BTC and ETH.
Yeah, dude.
Last week.
That was insane. And you'd come back every day to your charts and just see it up like another 25 to 40%, and it's at the top of the volume as well. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, right. I didn't even realize that was Ton Eco. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the ecosystem, I mean, it's a little bare bones right now. But I mean, that's where the opportunity lies. So I mean, you can look at, TVL charts, and TVL is minuscule compared to most other chains, but the users, the transactions, everything, every other metric, the distribution, the funnel, all of that stuff is, the size of it is unparalleled. So that's something that I've been exploring, and I check in at least once a week.
Yeah, you know what I was like thinking about with this is that it has like two potential narratives. One is what you mentioned, whatever, like some form of an ecosystem growing in the US as well as like in the West is what I assume you meant, because Telegram is, like you said, primarily a non-Western app. Like it's especially used in Eastern Europe. And I was almost wondering if like the number one use case for it could be they onboarded USDT. If it could just be like being the Tron of not Asia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels like the most natural fit. Like I know that that's not particularly like good valuation wise, but at the end of the day, like it would be more usage or like more organic content.
I know Tron's doing pretty well without any mind share apart, like in, kind of our circles and general.
Yeah, so it's something to watch. I mean, and the Ton, like Telegram, the foundation and everything is, they're very committed to supporting, crypto and things that are built within Telegram. So, that's another aspect that is pretty unique to Ton. So, like I said, all of, if you just kind of toss up the metrics of TVL, DEX trading volumes, things like that, it's not impressive at all. But I think the seeds are planted for, some very, very explosive growth. So I think what was it, maybe last month, Privy, the smart wallet that built, they built all the mobile stuff. FriendPet, all the easy onboarding, just kind of click and send. They started integrating with Telegram and ease of use of building like directly in channels. So there's a lot of things kind of behind the scenes that are kind of building up in my mind. And then again, you have more users than I don't know, by many orders of magnitude than any other, chain, or that distribution funnel is just, it's unrivaled. So it's something that I'm watching. Yeah, and you can see the growth start to pick up there.
Yeah, this looks pretty ridiculous. Obviously, all of these can be faked to an extent. Active addresses, transactions, TVL, maybe not TVL, but like they can be faked. But still, this looks like pretty ridiculous growth. And I agree with you. 900 mil users. Yeah, obviously, you're not going to capture all of those guys. But like if you're talking about SocialFi, this is SocialFi.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems SocialFi is coming in a few different forms that we didn't expect. Everyone was kind of, like friend tech, fancy, and then now we got celebrities making meme coins and Ton.
Yeah, I actually talking about friend tech. This is one thing that I wanted to ask, and I've been thinking about it a lot. Is like, what is Base / Coinbase beta on chain? And I think the thought process behind it is like, obviously Coinbase Smart Wallet launched, which is like huge, but it's also, I don't know how much of that is going to go to Base coins, and specifically which ones, because which one represents the ecosystem well enough. I think there's like 3 lines of thinking. It's Degen, Friend, and Arrow, but I don't know. Curious what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I don't know much about Arrow, but I would say, I don't know, theoretically, you'd definitely think that Friend, I suppose it kind of launched at a bad time for the Base eco, didn't it? Whereas Degen kind of had like prime time, as lots of stuff was popping up on Base. But yeah, Degen and Friend being like Base beta definitely makes sense. Yeah. Are you asking which one though? Over?
I don't know. I actually like Aero is basically a DEX coin. It's the other like Velodrome is on OP Stack and then is on Optimism, and then Aero is its like counterpart on Base.
Yeah, it had a pretty crazy run recently, right? In the last couple of months.
Yeah. And that's why I was like obviously you don't think of like DEX coins as being the representatives of a chain, but there are so few like legitimate, because Base launched at a time where DeFi was not as popular, and it's still not very popular right now, that there aren't that many like legit tokens, and it doesn't have an L1 token, L2 token. Obviously, I don't know if it ever will have one. I've heard some pretty like sad stuff about that. That made me actually sad.
No.
No, I'm still very optimistic.
Yeah, I'm still holding it.
I don't know.
Yeah. As far as kind of like pure beta goes, I don't know if there's necessarily like a crown token. I mean, degen strength the past couple weeks on up days has been something that I've noted. I mean, it's been up there with the top performing coins on up days. Obviously, they raised, was it 150 million a couple weeks ago? So I would say probably degen, and then I mean maybe FriendPet too. They're pretty close to Coinbase.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that one up. Something that I don't know. Do either of you guys know much about FriendPet, or like keeping up with it at all?
I gave up on it because this is one of those things that I sold way too early.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's like now I can't ever look at that chart again.
I think I bought it like 1K market cap or sub 1K market cap when the limit was like you could only buy $1 per wallet. Anyway, I think that is also a really good candidate for base beta and like base GameFi. It's really like, is it kind of the only candidate for base GameFi?
Yeah.
They have one more called Sexy. I don't know if you guys know it. It's like ETH XY, but it's not.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean,
FriendPet chart looks pretty good.
Yeah, you know, there's a few main tokens on there, but I think similar to the TON conversation, like the smart wallet in Coinbase's distribution, like the funnel that they have, again, is, I mean, it's not on TON levels, but it's, you know, it's
pretty big still.
It's pretty massive. They command the U.S. market, and that's not going to go anywhere. Anybody, you know, U.S. based who comes on chain is generally going to be through Coinbase. So even, you know, while volumes are a little down on base, and there's going to be some quiet periods, but I think that, you know, the thesis there is similar to TON, and that the distribution it's pretty unparalleled. So it's a thing that, you know, you just want to place a few bets, and, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that upside, you know, the upside case of bringing on, you know, tens of millions of users and being able to easily navigate, you know, any token to any base chain coin, and, you know, getting listed on Coinbase hypothetically, like all that stuff is, you know, the thesis is very clear.
Yeah.
So I think you want to have some bets there just for down the line. Yeah.
And just commanding the U.S. market means you're commanding 40% of the world's economy. So it's like,
yeah, exactly. The marginal wealth of like the user that would be brought on is kind of what you want to target there. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Coinbase is, you know, they're incentivized they're making a lot of money from base too. So the incentives are very aligned there. So I think, you know, kind of with sports betting and sites like that, you know, they have all these promos, and, you know, first bet is free $5 bonus bet, et cetera, et cetera. I think you can eventually might see Coinbase start to run, you know, some type of just onboarding, you know, get on chain, you know, we'll pay your, you know, whatever, $20, $15, $10 of ETH in a smart wallet. You know, you can create it in 5 minutes, you claim your ETH. Like some of the stuff that, you know, they can run, like promo wise and funnel wise, push people down to base is, I mean, it can get pretty nutty pretty quick. So I don't think.
I think that makes total sense. I agree.
I assume they'll be running some, like, I don't have Coinbase, but I assume that whenever you're like, oh, I want to withdraw ETH or USDC, the first option is always based, right? So I think that'll continue. I think they also want to do like free gas on base, which would be huge. I mean, base gas is so low, but I think still, like, if you're a new user, if you just don't have that much that you want to spend, like, gas may bother you. So I think that's also, like, depending on application, you can have it for free, so that's pretty good as well.
Yeah. All those type of things is, again, back to the time conversation, like that's just stuff like that is something that I am more than comfortable, placing a few bets, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but the RR there is pretty big. So yeah, I mean, I keep eyes on base stuff pretty much every day and monitor the volumes. So yeah, it's exciting. So I think people, overestimate what the short-term impact, just like, everything in life, but the long-term impact of, everything that Coinbase is doing, the funnel they have, the smart wallet, all of that stuff is just awesome for getting people on chain. So
Yeah, I agree. I remember when trading bots first became a thing, like like Unibot, Banana, and stuff, and people started to catch on to like the whole, just the idea that it was quite easy to onboard someone. They didn't even really have to know that they were being. I don't know. It's just completely different to like creating a MetaMask, saving a private key, like withdrawing from a centralized exchange. Going to Uniswap, putting in the contract address, etc. Like you just fire up Telegram and send some ETH to it or whatever. And then Privy came out. Same thing there. Like you could almost use like friend tech and stuff without kind of needing to know that you were in crypto. And yeah, that combined with exactly like you say, the funnel that Coinbase has will be big down the track at some point.
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much the three. I mean, ETH, Sol, and Base. I mean, we can get to Runes and Ordinals. I'd throw those in there too. But I mean, those are pretty much the three chains that I'm pretty focused on. So
I was gonna get upset that you didn't mention Runes, but you did. So
we're
You know what was so funny on Base last week when they did that? Well, it was sad that Normie got hacked, but I don't know if you guys saw the video they released.
no.
Oh, no. Oh, then I can't bring it up. But what it was basically Normie got hacked. Obviously, it was like one of the popular meme coins on Base, and then they released a video like 3 days after getting hacked, and it was just like a character hanging himself, and I was like, why would you guys ever
savage?
Why would you ever post this from your own account? But that's like one of the things that's been on Base. I feel like Solana has, well, I guess they have DGen.
Oh, Brett. There's Brett. Brett's at 1.2 billion now.
Yeah,
I think has been up only.
I
was meaning to ask, was that the Cabal coin everyone was talking about recently? It kind of like nuked because they realized that 40% was owned by. That was that coin?
Yeah, that was Brett. Yeah, I think it.
And now it's back at 1.2 bill.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how low it got, but I mean the FUD was, and I'm pretty sure it was, very, very valid criticism.
Yeah,
insider controlled. But yeah, it's up to 1.4 billion now. I mean, nobody talks about it. Like, there's no mentions of it. It just kind of just goes up.
It wicked to 200 mil.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's up 7x from the bottom.
That just, I don't know. It feels like a bad meme. I'm not gonna, like, maybe I'm.
No, I agree. Like, I don't know much about it, but like, it definitely doesn't scream appeal, I suppose. Like, some meme coins do, like virality and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, there are very few funny memes anyway. Like, they're funny if they're going up, but even if they're going down, they're not. So
that's the dirty. That's a dirty secret, isn't it?
All right. I think that's it. I think we've covered most. Do you guys have anything else?
Do you want to talk Ordinals at all, or I'm good if not?
You know what? I wanted to bring it up, but last time I talked about it on the show, it was the local top, and so now I'm a bit worried. Yeah. But like, I guess I can. Basically what I wanted to bring up was that I wanted to show this. I feel like people aren't looking into this. I mean, Parsec, Kez, you guys have a fantastic ordinals charting as well. But for my purposes, I wanted to show this. Is that I don't know if like you guys were early into runes. Ordinals, like Bitcoin ecosystem at all, but like the way that I remember it is that when you were buying and selling Ordinals, initially you were buying and selling through Google Sheets, which is like,
Yeah.
and then you were like asking the guy who launched it to hold it for you for a few weeks while you set up some form of a wallet, and then you would set up the wallet, and then you were like afraid to burn it because like they're all inscribed on a sat. And now we have this, like this is a proper chart, and it's a proper book. And I think this is something that I was talking about with like Daniel, who's another analyst on the team, and it was that like his point of view, which is very fair, is that the Rune trading experience is horrible. The BTC trading experience is horrible. The like ecosystem's bad. But I think it's like, I mean, this stuff just gets exponentially better always. Like you go from Discords and Google Sheets to like an actual interface. Then Magic Eden picks it up. Then you have marketplaces everywhere, OKX. And then you have like finally proper charting, proper tools to buy and sell. And I'm sure that they're going to launch some form of a Telegram bot over the next few months that makes it even easier to buy and sell stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally. I agree. I wasn't as early as that. I wasn't buying stuff off spreadsheets. But yeah, that's, was that like, was it even 18 months ago now? I think it was around that Ordinal started. But yeah, the tech has exponentially increased. And even runes on Magic Eden in the last, since like a few weeks pre-launch, BRCs to now, what they have is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it got so much. We'll see. I mean, some of these things are like obviously not going to do particularly well, but in general, like you mentioned, Talks, it's all ETH based. I think runes, ordinals, anything on BTC, like you have to at least keep track of, just because if it gets that narrative of like provenance, the mother chain, it's patriotic to buy stuff on Bitcoin,
Yeah. No, I mean the wealth created through BTC over the past years has been absolutely nutty too. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily good data on, the early BTC people wanting and or actually spending on runes and ordinals, but I mean, it's again one of those things, like the wealth is there, and the interface is getting a little better. It still sucks trading runes. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's something that they definitely need to keep an eye on. So, and I think the ticker, like each ticker too, I think can only be used once, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think that's another like low key benefit, is that with Pump.Fun, and I mean with ETH gas being low, and there's such saturation of memes and tokens that there can't be repeats and the same thing over and over on BTC. So I think that's kind of like a pretty low key thing that can benefit runes specifically. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they're also like decreasing the amount of letters that you can put. I know this isn't like particularly innovative, but I thought it was cool that like I think right now it's 13 letters, so it would be like the one I'm looking at right now is called like Dog Go to the Moon. I think that's 13 letters, and every some period of time they shorten it, so it'll be 12 letters, 11, 10 until it's like 4, 3, 2, which is cool because you're forcing like whatever creator it is to pick some form of like a decent name, and you're like, you can't just spam random stuff, which is also good. I mean, it's expensive anyway, but
yeah, I mean that's like I was saying, I mean it's the saturation across other chains is pretty big, and I think people are getting a little tired of it. So I mean it's definitely a plus to BTC with the fees and the weird naming conventions that kind of limit the number of stuff that can be launched. So
complete opposite of Solana, right? Like a mass dispersion there. They're like 20,000 tokens being created a day when it's popping off. So all these kind of like limits put in place on Bitcoin.
But yeah, so it's something to watch moving forward for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Bob. This is fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. Anytime. Hopefully, once this is out, we'll get the good pump on the coins like last time we recorded. I was
Yeah.
start the whole time, like, when's it going to happen? But yeah, hopefully we'll be right with how we started about, things going up from here. So we shall see. But yeah, thanks as always. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Good chat,
All right.
boys.
Have a good day.
Talk to you later.